Hey, so today we are talking through safe leader and student dynamics. And so, how it's part of our job to lead students and be a mentor in their life. It's some of the hardest and most difficult things they go through. But there are also a lot of things we have to do and keep in mind to keep them safe and to keep us safe. Like some of the obvious ones, most of us already know, right? Like no guys and girls alone together.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take students out by yourself. Always have someone else with you. Don't talk about inappropriate things. But we might not think about little things like being at the church. When a kid comes in for a big hug, what do? When a female student starts talking to a male leader about her relationship and talking about sex, how do you move out of that conversation and redirect it appropriately? Things like that. So, are there encounters or stories or moments you guys have where there was an uncomfortable dynamic with you and a student you had to navigate?
Yes. I'd say like I'm pretty bad at getting out of conversations, but one of the encounters like I had a female student ask me to go ice skating with her, and she didn't tell me I told her I just said no. I just said straight up no. But like it was just like uncomfortable for me because I'm like, for one, did you go ask other female leaders before you came up to me, or did you just come up straight to me?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, and like it happens sadly often. Like just like, but I'm pretty bad at it. I usually just like walk away if I'm uncomfortable. Like I don't know how to really navigate out of that except for just getting out of it quite literally. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like, I feel like sometimes there have been instances where there have been like unhealthy attachments almost. Not necessarily inappropriate situations, but kids who, I don't know, it feels like they need me there.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I'm my own person, I have my own life, and if I can't be there, I need you to be okay.
Yeah.
I have a very similar experience with a youth student who trauma bonded to me. Like, significantly to the point where there were multiple conversations where they told me like, I don't know if I can keep going without you. Like it was a really hard time and like it was kind of traumatic for me too because I wanted to be there for them, but I knew I had to have boundaries. And setting boundaries can be hard no matter whether it's a youth student, friendships, anything. Boundaries are just a hard thing to figure out.
Well, and sometimes when you set them too, like their reaction is like anger and disbelief and hurt. And they feel things so much deeper than someone whose brain is like fully developed. And so and especially students who are dealing with severe trauma who are in difficult situations, you're right, like then they literally will trauma bond and it's like a baby duckling imprinting on the first thing it sees. And so like protecting their feelings while also not putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation is really important. I also think it's important for us to kind of think through and talk about like when we see other leaders who are potentially entering into uncomfortable or inappropriate dynamics with students. That's probably not always as explicit as seeing a male student pick a female student up by himself and take her in his car, or finding two people in a closet. Sometimes it's not as straightforward as that. Sometimes it's, hey, you guys are really close and you spend a lot of time together, and like maybe you need to bring other people in on that. That's part of why I think it's really important that like when we have discipleship conversations, we're doing them two-on-one, two leaders to a student. Because like, not to hurt anybody's ego too much, but you're not that important that you need to be the only person they talk to.
I feel like David and I have had a couple of those kind of moments where the two of us have had to have conversations with a significant child, and we bounce off of each other, and it's helpful because then we're both there. There's no like, well, this was said, because there's like more of a support system with each other. And I think that, I feel like we do a pretty good job of bouncing off each other when we have those conversations.
And not only that, but another thing to think about too, like you said, you're not that important. Piggybacking off of that, there's different things you can bring to those conversations than he can, and there's different things he can bring than you can. And when you
for sure
go alone into those conversations, which you shouldn't anyway, you might be stripping that child of something they needed from one or the other.
For sure.
And I think like just a couple of like really practical things that help is like sometimes we get uncomfortable with just saying like, hey, I care about you, I want to be here for you. I don't think this is an appropriate conversation for me to work through with you. so let me connect you with someone who can.
Yes.
Like immediately. So I don't say like, hey, no, we can't talk about this. I say, let me get you with someone who can. So like, if you're a female leader and a male student is talking to you about pornography, the appropriate response is, I care about you. I want to see your help. Let's connect you with a male leader.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So things like that protect students. I also think we need to not be afraid at any point to, not confrontationally, but address with other leaders when we notice inappropriate or
Hold them
uncomfortable
accountable.
dynamics. Like just say, hey, what was happening there? Can you walk me
Yeah.
through that? Because sometimes like we might misinterpret something,
Yeah,
or
for
maybe
sure.
there's an emergency. Like we've had a leader who works for the government in social work, and so like he's had a student who is in the foster care system. Thank you, that's what we're looking for. And he's needed to pull that student into a room for like legally no other person can be in the room. And so like if a leader came by and saw me allow that, that could create, you know, but I've had leaders literally say like, I saw this happen. What was going on there? And then you can explain it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Other times it helps catch things that we don't realize because unfortunately we live in a world where people we love and trust can make horrible decisions in a moment. People who are upstanding, righteous can slip up and do something they shouldn't. And teens are capable of things because they're processing trauma, difficult behavior that you don't realize they are. And having good boundaries prevents you from ever being in that situation.
Yeah, I would say like, especially for me, like as one of the like younger male leaders, like not like being like egotistical, you know, a lot of the female
hot,
students,
strong, bulky, well built, tall.
A lot of like the female students like come up to me, but like I think I've made more of a point to make sure, like I don't know if anybody's like seen that, but like I've made sure to make a point like to go talk to all the students, and like I think one thing that like really scared me because I thought I was doing pretty well there is like I had a student tell me on Tuesday just like, because I said I don't know if I'll be coming Thursday, and then they're like, I don't know what I'll do if you're not here Thursday. I'm like, whoa,
Let's make you
let's pause right there. That's
yeah.
I'm like, that's not what you should be saying.
Yeah.
Like you should not be coming to church to see me, you know. So like I think it's just like
That's why I come to church, to see David.
everybody does.
I feel like I can 100% see where you're coming from because I have a very, very strong relationship and friendship with one of our youth students. Like I knew her prior to this, and I feel like it's easier for me to pour into her during youth group because we have that bond already. But then I also have been trying to make more of a conscious effort to let that relationship be the relationship that I already have and build new ones too.
I also think like this is about keeping students safe. This is also about keeping you safe, because we want to make sure that we actively avoid any situation where something can be misinterpreted or where an advance or a moment can be made from a student to a leader that's unwelcome and unwanted. It's, you know, like we have cameras in every room of the church, but that doesn't mean that they could malfunction or something could go wrong. And so that's part of why it's essential that we follow the policies and procedures of, you know, if I'm one-on-one with a girl in the corner, I make sure David or Brittany or Delaney can see me, that I'm in the main room. I'm not off in a room by ourselves because I just trust that there's a camera in the corner that's going to catch everything. Like,
I think it's important to think like I'm here to be your leader, not your friend.
Although
I would love to still like I care about you.
Yeah.
We are friends. I'm here to lead you and to guide you. And I think it's important that I remember, like everyone remembers that.
So I think overall, if we just are really careful about working to keep students safe, to uphold boundaries in students' lives and hold each other accountable to those boundaries, we protect each other, we protect students, and we protect ourselves.